Hello and welcome to an Everyday Canines video. In this episode of the Weave Game series, we're going to be looking at distraction training. So when your dog is weaving, to build up their confidence, you want to offer certain levels of distraction to teach them that they weave no matter what. So what we're going to do, I'm going to get rid of this ball. I'm going to switch to a closed treat pouch. This is one of these treat pouches that once they're sealed, my dogs can't get into them easily. They could if they took half an hour. So I'm using one of these, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put this out here, and what I want my dog to do is understand that they've got to weave the whole set of poles before they get that toy. Now, if you've been using a toy to lead up to your awards, they should already have this idea, because when you've got a toy out ahead, they shouldn't miss a pole and go reward themselves. If they've been doing that, then you really need to go back. You need to change your toy system, because you're just rewarding mistakes. So if they've been doing that, then you need to either use a lower value toy if you're just using a toy. If you're using a treat toy like this, then I use one which is they can't open by themselves. So I could have this start out here, say, and my dog has to weave and then finish, but that's pretty much like what we're doing anyway. So I'm going to make it a little bit harder, and I'm going to have it here. So it's now level with my dog's finish. So if you think, when they're coming out, they have to turn away from the toy before they can turn back and get it. This is where it goes. Your dog's got to say to yourself, do I finish the weave poles or do I just run to the toy? If they just run to the toy, that's okay. We're just going to move it further and further away till they get it right. But if they don't, excellent. Swift. I know. Come here. What we want them to do is want them to finish their weave poles and then come to it. So let's see what we do. We haven't done this game in a while with Swift. Possibly a year, I think, the last time I did this. Hey, pulse, pulse, pulse. Yeah, get it. So you can see, good girl, that even though the toy was there, the treat pouch was there, she understood her job was to finish the weave poles first. And actually, she went really straight out, which was nice. She didn't even turn to look at that at the end. As I say, if your dog didn't do that the first time, and there's all sorts of things that dogs will do. Some will just miss this and go straight to it. Some will just stand there going, I can't weave. I can't weave, that toy is there. Then what you do is you move your toy out to a distance where your dog can weave with that toy being present. When I did this with Sparrow, I don't know how far I had it over, but I had it right over to start with, because if it was even here, I can't weave. I can't weave, there's a toy there. So I had to move it right out, and it took a long time to bring it back in. But that's good, because you're teaching your dog, you're working through a problem, and you're teaching your dog, yes, there's a distraction, and it's a big major distraction, but you're learning to cope with it. Okay, so this time I'm going to move it in, I'm going to have it there. So now my dog has to really drive past it. So we'll see if you can do this. Ready, pulse, pulse. Yeah, get it! You're a show-off, aren't you? Now, I could make this even harder for her by using a toy that she can self-reward from, which is this one. So we'll see if this works. This could be really chancing it, and I'm going to have her have to actually run past it. Now, this may go wrong. I don't know. Ready? Pulse, pulse, pulse. Do you see? She said, I don't want to go near that. That's too tempting, so I'm going to miss. So I'm going to move it further out. Come here. Pulse, pulse, pulse. Yeah, get it. So she could do that, but it was too close the first time. She said, no, that's too tempting, too utterly tempting. I can't do that. So you keep building these games up. I'm going to go back to this one for the time being. I can see that this toy still needs work as a distraction, because it obviously, because she can self-reward with this one, and this is the primary toy she uses, it's harder. This one's a bit easier because you get the game. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it here. Now, a little bit of something to bear in mind, when you're finishing this behaviour, is that you're going to actually asking your dog to turn back on themselves. You could do this differently. You could throw this toy out if you don't want them turning back on themselves and you really need to drive them forward. But if you want them to come and reward from this, which actually makes it a harder distraction, you need to make sure you're using a turn cue if you've got a turn cue. I'm just saying her name because that should bring her back. But realistically, I should use her turn cue, which for this would be rot roll, which means turn right tightly. But we haven't done a lot of that, so I'm cheating. Okay, pulse, pulse, pulse. Sweet, get it. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. Okay, so you need to muddle through your distractions. You're going to work both sides. I've worked mainly left, but you're going to work both sides. So that's your toy distractions, like that. Another distraction which I find really hard, and Sparrow really finds hard, is the Manners Minder. For Sparrow, that's even a higher reward than this. And for her, when the Manners Minder is there, right, the Manners Minder is there, I cannot weave. I cannot weave past that. So that's another one to use. Another game you might use is you might attempt to do weird things while they're in the pills. Okay, so I'm gonna, what should I do? Should I do star jumps? Okay, ready, pulse, pulse, pulse. Yeah, get it. I was a bit late rewarding. So I'm doing weird things while she's weaving. What are we gonna do this time, huh? Okay, pulse, 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 pulse. Yeah, get it. I know, that was weird, wasn't it? Okay. Another form of distraction, you can really make a load of noise, whoop and holler, and so see, ready, pulse. So again, she could be near the edge of a ring where people are cheering you on, and that's another way of distracting them. There are so many ways of doing this. Think of things that worry your dog and build them into distractions. One thing that worries Sparrow Swift, but I can't do here, is rattly doors. So I'm obviously in a field, I can't do that. But if I'm at an indoor training venue with a rattly door, I shall ask to have weaves near it so we can train with that. And the important thing is, if at any point your dog does become distracted by this, you move your weaves so that they reach a point where they can do it without being distracted, because you want to build confidence. There's no point trying to fight through it. You want to build confidence and then work up to it. It's important. One last thing, and this may not be relevant to you, but it is to me. I'm not throwing my toy at my dogs as a distraction. The reason for this is, when I throw a toy, it's a reward. And technically, yes, I have a get it word, which means you can go get your toy, but I don't think that word is strong enough for me to throw a toy at my dog and not expect them to pull out of the weave poles. So it would be unfair of me to ask them to do that, because I'm basically messing up what I've already taught them. And, so it's not fair to ask that, simple as. So I don't throw things at my dog when they're weaving, because it just would be unkind. It would be, I would be setting them up to fail, which I do not want to do. But other than that, I'll throw pretty much anything out there. For, anything, flags, flappy cloths, noises, anything you can think of. Sometimes I have my friends pretend they're judges, running alongside, looking at them, stuff like that. Anything you can think of that might worry your dog, find a way to work it into your weave games. And when you're only working on 4, you can reward so quickly and so much for avoiding that distraction that your dog goes, yeah, I've got this, I nailed it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, you might like to subscribe to the Everyday Canines YouTube channel. You can also check us out on Instagram and Facebook. And I hope to see you here again very, very soon.